Welcome back to Players Tour Finals, friends. I am Ailey Loney, and that is Corey Baumeister, and we are here for round 6 of action here today. It is going to be a clash of the Titans, Corey Baumeister. We have Reed Duke versus Mike Sigrist coming right up. What do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, just two absolute titans of the game here. It is going to be so fun to watch people that are so skilled. And I really wanted to see more of this mono white deck in action. You know, it absolutely dominated Bant Ramp when we were on camera here a couple rounds earlier. And I expected to do the same to Teamer Rec, but we will see when it comes down to two amazing players like this.
We certainly will, and the players are ready to rock and roll, so let's jump straight into the action. Team of Reclamation, I should say, versus Mono White Aggro, Mike Sigrist, Reed Duke. Let's get things underway here. Take a look at the opening hands. 2 growth spirals in hand there for Reed, so he's going to be pretty happy to keep that straight away. And taking a look on the other side there, we've got 2 lands, so that's always a good start for the Weenie deck, and plenty of action there. Bunch of little 1-drops to get on the battlefield, as well as that glorious anthem to buff the team.
Yeah, this is just the ideal start right here. And you kind of saw Reed Duke like sit up in his chair when he saw 2 growth spirals and a bunch of land to wrap in. He just saw the excitement kind of go into his spine a little bit. But to be fair, Reed Duke loves Magic so much that just could be because he gets to play another round of high stakes Magic.
Oh, yes. Oh, and I was just going to say, you know what make this hand even better is a Venerated Loxodon, and that is exactly what Mike Sigrist drew off the top. So if there's any way that he's going to beat it, you've got to think that this is it, Corey.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow, he can just deploy a couple of 1-drops here, slam a Loxodon down, and when you don't have a ton of sweepers in the main deck, which I'm looking at Reed's list now, and he has saved them all for the sideboard. Oh, wait, no, excuse me. There are 2 of them in the main deck, but, I mean, Reed doesn't have them right now. I don't see why you don't just go for it.
Oh yeah, this is certainly what this mono white deck wants to do. It wants to buff this team up as quickly as it can. If Mike can rip a land off the top and just buff the team with Anthem, this is going to be game over. There is nothing that Reed Duke can do right now to this battlefield.
Yeah, exactly. And he decides to even play it a little more cautiously and not play the Giant Killer to get all the value, mainly because I think Giant Killer is just one of those cards that if they have Storm's Wrath, all it's doing is just adding another body to the graveyard. You don't really need that one right now. So I think it is better served in hand as a chop down for any big creature that might come around.
Yeah, especially Uro, Titan Nature's Wrath, or any Massive Sharks. But I don't think we're going to see any Massive Sharks in this, as Mike Sigrist is just laying the beat down. Wilderness Reclamation hits the battlefield, so he will have the ability to counter whatever the follow-up is here from Mike, who does find the 3rd planes, can deploy that Anthem, but Reed will be able to save his life total just a little bit with that Mystical Dispute.
Yeah, exactly. Mystical Dispute, even a 3-mana mana leak right now, very strong, at least just from stopping him from being dead on the spot here. But then you see Aether Gust in hand, and it's like, well, that kind of evens it out because that card is absolutely unplayable right now.
So here we'll see Growth Spiral fired off, get this land down on the battlefield, still able to cast the Mystical Dispute, digging 1 card deeper into the deck, trying to find that copy of Storm's Wrath. But even if that Storm's Wrath is found, we still have all these very sticky creatures and the Selfless Savior that can give something indestructible. So it's not looking good here for Reed Duke at all.
Yeah, exactly. If we saw Storm's Wrath right now, what we would see is the Savior save Loxodon, and the Cat and the Hunted Witness would leave behind 1 creature. That's not quite 7, but, you know, that is pretty dang close to just presenting lethal through a Storm's Wrath, which is really the reason to play these white decks. It seems like they are so insulated against these 4-mana sweeper effects of Storm's Wrath, Shatter the Sky, Solar Blaze, whatever you want to be doing to kill creatures. It just seems really tough to deal with if you can get a good curve.
Now, I'm not sure if you saw that, but Mike Sigrist was just flexing on Reed Duke in multiple ways there. He just picked up a weight and was like, yeah, I'm gonna pump some iron while I'm swinging little creatures at your face.
No way. Did I really miss that? Unfortunately, I had my camera up where Mike Sigrist's camera was there, so I missed that. I guess I missed out on a gem.
I'm sure someone in Twitch chat will clip that for us, but that was just a thing of beauty. As we see Reed Duke try and find some way to survive here, I'm not sure he's going to be able to. He can fire off an expansion explosion just to get rid of one of these attackers, but here comes a swing in for lethal. Nothing Reed can do. We're going to go to game number 2.
It's as easy as that, Alias. As easy as that.
It sure is. Now we see Reed bringing in as many interactive spells, or as many, I should say, removal spells for this white weenie list that he possibly can. Bringing in the Gargaroth, bringing in these Bone Crusher Giant, and getting rid of all these Ether Gusts, which are dead cards in this matchup. So how much of a disadvantage do you think it is for the players who have the Ether Gusts in the main deck?
You know, I think it is, of course, important, but, you know, just having 2 of them, that isn't really the spot where you get or where you lose that much. It's the fact that you don't have any of these red cards in your main deck. Like, you're losing a little bit of equity by having a bad card in your main deck, but really where you're losing out on is you're having all these disputes. You're having all these cards that don't kill creatures in your main. So game 1 feels like a pretty close to auto lose to me. But one thing I do love about this deck from Reed is he's labeled it the Jabberwocky. And you gotta love when you and your family member work that closely together, that you guys both build decks, and it's very clear that Jabberwocky has been playing a ton of Team of Reclamation, and it looks like Reed just leaned in on Jabberwocky, Logan Nettles' list, and you just gotta love a family sticking together in the Magic world.
You do indeed. I was a little confused. I'm like, wait a minute. That's not Reed's handle, is it? No, it's not. It's Logan Nettles. All right,
Yeah,
so game
exactly.
number 2 getting underway here. Game number 2 getting underway here. Taking a look at the opening hand. 2 Opts and 2 Uros in hand, as well as the Wilderness Reclamation. So what do you think about this hand? Keep or mull?
I think you got to keep it. It's pretty tough to mulligan this one. I mean, Opt could be anything. It could even be a 3rd land, you know, Alias? So I think you just got to snap this one off and hope you can get enough cards in your graveyard that you can escape an Uro, you know, turn 4, turn 5 maybe, which is usually a turn or 2 above your average amount of time that you would be escaping it. And that's really all you can hope for in this matchup.
Things are getting underway here. Garrison, Cat on the stack, Opt in response, sending that Wilderness Reclamation to the back, and there is land number 3. So Reed Duke never didn't have it, able to get his Uro out on turn and start to get this Wilderness Reclamation game plan going.
Exactly. I mean, those 2 lands off the top is exactly what he would want. Okay, maybe not exactly, because a Growth Spiral would be a little bit better, but this is something that Reed is going to be very happy to accept here.
For sure. And having a look at Mike's hand, he was contemplating mulliganing once more just to be safe. Not too happy with his configuration, because we've kind of seen that, you know, this kind of hand can just fall flat. It just runs out of gas after a while, right? It's like, oh, okay, you got a bunch of little idiots, but where's the big follow-up? Where's the big payoff? Where's the Loxodon or the Bazu Solidarity or the Anthem effects? He's got to be hoping for that.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. This mono white deck, it does seem like it's insanely high variant, and the kind of amount of feedback that I've been getting from high level players is they just didn't really want to essentially flip a coin here, where you have really, really strong draws from your mono white deck, or you have really, really medium ones like this. It's crazy what a difference that just Venerated Loxodon does to this deck. It just adds so much power for such little mana investment, and the price is only taking 1 turn off of combat, but then you're just doubling the power of your team, and it just becomes so effective so very quickly.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's doubling it up. It's an Anthem effect in and of itself. It's just, you know, a permanent thing, even if the Loxodon gets taken care of. As we see these little knuckleheads swinging in here, 3 points of damage. Season Hellblade off the top. That's going to join the friends. And now we're going back to Reed Duke. What is he hoping to find off the top here?
You know, honestly, like, another Fabled Passage, maybe another Opt, maybe a Growth Spiral. One of these very cheap spells that can just add another card to the graveyard. You know, of course, there are plenty of answers that Mike Sigrist can have to deal with a resolved Uro, but with what we see right now with Perfect Information, he doesn't have them. And Reed already has, I believe that is his third card into the graveyard. And then, you know, I mean, we're getting pretty close. We can use another Uro to get a fourth card. So we are getting quite close to being able to escape it. And you got to think that's, you know, essentially GG, maybe not GG, but pretty close to locking it up for Reed.
Yeah, finding Bonecrusher Giants off the top of the library too. That's a very good pickup. Blast Zone as well, able to take off or take care of a few key creatures. Unfortunately, though, most of the things that he blows up, they do leave a little idiot behind. But certainly able to protect his face a bit better in this matchup.
Yeah, I always wish Blast Zone, whenever I'm playing it, it had a mode where I could remove a counter, because half the time against this mono white deck, there's so many zero drops I want to kill, but not too many twos as much.
Gotta play Soul Diviner in your, I don't know, this deck, I suppose. That's the only thing I can think of in Standard that takes counters off of things.
Ooh, that's a flashback right there. That card was pretty busted and limited.
All right, so now just deciding how we want to approach this next turn is Mike Sigrist. He's got 3 Stonequill Serpents, a Fighter's 1 to protect his creatures, and as well as a Raise the Alarm. So he can certainly go wide, but he's got to be worried about the Storm's Wrath or any other sweeper effects that might be in Reed's list. But I think that's just the only one he's got to be concerned about. And there's, well, maybe Blast Zone, I suppose. But again, doesn't hit tokens.
Blast Zone not the best, because Reed definitely needs his lands here. So that's something he doesn't really want to rely on. But yeah, it looks like we have access to the 4 Bone Crusher, which I kind of can't believe that they played all 4. But it is a very, very powerful card if you're expecting mono red or mono white. And then of course we got the 3 Storm's Wrath to draw to as well here.
Exactly right. So Bonecrusher Giant taking care of one of the tokens, leaving the cat be as the cat just comes back with another friend. There's another land off the top of the library for Reed, trying to get Uro out of the bin, because we know just how much aggressive decks like life gain. Spoiler alert, they do not.
Yeah, exactly. And it is kind of a bummer that Stomp is a creature that just goes to the adventure mode, because Reed just kind of wants it to be a Scorching Dragonfire right now, not only to eliminate like the cat bringing back another feline friend, but just being able to crank out that Uro.
Mike Sigrist's game have just entered hard mode as his kids are asking for a little bit of attention, it seems. So this is the joys. I suppose one of the downsides of playing high-level tournaments at home is we do have some outside interference here in the form of the small creatures of the Sigrist household.
Yeah, we're going to have to get a judge in here, unfortunately. That's outside assistance. We don't really tolerate that here. So, yeah, we're going to if they're half as good at Magic as they are cute, they're definitely helping him out a lot more than you should be.
I believe so. Here we go. We're swinging on in. Mike Sigrist throwing caution to the wind, hitting the big red button. He's like, all right, I gotta get this over and done with quickly. My kids need a snack, so Reed, let's get this over and done with, shall we?
Yep, kids need a snack, and he wants to feed Reed a beating here. A little 2-for-1 meal, essentially.
So the block being tended here by the Bonecrusher Giant on the Seasoned Hallowblade, we can obviously give it Indestructible, discard one of these extra Stonecoil Serpents, or we use the Fighter's 1, protect that, buff up the kitty cat, or one of these tokens, which I believe are just the soldier ones. These aren't humans.
Yeah, raise the alarm tokens. I think you're right on that, but I could be mistaken as well. Yeah, this isn't a huge clock for Sigrist right now. So while Reed doesn't have a ton to do right now, that Bone Crusher is going to the graveyard. I would really assume, we can't see the exact graveyard counts, but I've been trying to keep track. And I think this is either card number 5 or 6 in the graveyard. So on 5. So what Reed was really hoping that could happen was being able to negate that fight with 1. So really kind of heads up play, just discarding it instead of playing it, because now Reed just cannot play that negate. That could be huge.
Could well be. Dead card in hand along with a land. Not exactly what Reed wants to be sitting or the position he wants to be in right now. He does have the Castle Vantress, so he can scry on the end step, try and find some answers, which he desperately needs. He needs to find a Storm's Wrath, and he needs to find red mana to be able to cast it too.
So was that a 1/1 Serpent? I'm kind of... Oh, okay. We're just jamming 2 different bodies here. I was wondering, was that a misclick and he wanted to leave 1 Serpent in hand and play a 3/3? That was an interesting play.
2 Triumphs on the top here. This is not what Reed wants to see. But at the same time, it lets you cycle through, I guess. But nope, both going to the bottom. We gotta find that Wrath. We need to find red mana to be able to cast that Wrath. This is not looking good. On the plus side, though, we can get Uro out, so let's go there.
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely very helpful. I didn't even notice I have double red. Yeah, that's a big problem, but, you know, I mean, he kept a blue-green opening hand with some ops, you know, drew that mountain right away, but was unable to find another mountain, even though he drew, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 extra lands. That's just some bad luck.
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna opt, go digging through the library, try and find something. Fabled Passage is the second red that he could grab, but sends it away. Gets another Wilderness Reclamation. Does have the Stomp with the Bone Crusher Giant to take care of one of these creatures, but, you know, pressure is mounting now. If there's an Anthem effect or Basri Solidarity, okay, we have the negate to deal with it, but he's leaving himself tapped out here without being able to negate anything that may come from Mike Sigrist's side.
Yeah, and as powerful as Uro is, it's not really able to stop the just
excuse me, Wilderness Reclamation is dumb.
Essentially, you know, what we call in the... Yeah, essentially just going wide, and you can't really stop all these creatures. Sigrist can just keep chump attacking, and what I mean by that, just attack with everything, lose 1 creature, get through a bunch of damage, do that a few more times, and you have to make a tough choice between attacking with Uro and holding it back. So not the easiest situations for Reed here.
No, not at all. So... like you said, we're just going to hit the big red button, everything into the red zone, swing in. Season Hellblade gets blocked again, forced to discard his friend. But Sigrist is going to be very, very happy with this indeed. So here we go. All the damage through, down to 10. Has to find something. Let's go, Reed. What can you find off the top?
Yeah, huge draw step, and it's really unfortunate for Reed that when he looks at the top and he sees a Storm's Wrath, he is 100% priced into keeping it, if he does find one, of course, but he just doesn't have that other red, so his best draw is not something that is amazing for him right now.
He's going to get a few extra counters on the Blast Zone, another negate off the top. This is not what he wants to see. Mike Sigrist is looking poised to take this victory if Reed Duke doesn't find an answer for this battlefield.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. But no double red.
Right. Exactly. We kind of figured eventually he would draw it, but, you know, he's just having that poor situation of his land's just not agreeing with him. And he had that opportunity to get the Fabled Passage a little bit ago, but I mean, unless Reed Duke's list is different, most of them only play 1 mountain, so that was not going to do it anyways. Okay,
yeah, you're right. So we have to find a Steam Vents or Stomping Grounds, something to that effect, which also sucks because then he has to hit himself in the face to be able to play it. So Castle Vantress, let's scry. Let's go and find this red source and try and get back into this game. There we go. 2 Steam Vents off the top of the library. So next turn, provided we can stay alive, Reed Duke can mount a comeback here against Mike Sigrist.
Yeah, I think this is actually looking pretty good for Reed, just because if, Sigrist's best draw is just an Anthem-like effect, he's got those negates that he brought in, and then all of a sudden this Storm's Wrath is going to absolutely decimate Mike Sigrist's board, and Reed is going to be able to stay with that Uro, and it's going to be pretty tough to come back from there.
For sure. So here again, the team swings in. We're going to tender a few blocks here, get rid of the biggest creature on the battlefield from Mike Sigrist's side. The Bone Crusher Giant will die. Down to 8 goes Reed, and a Seasoned Hellblade to follow it up. But unfortunately, no cards left in hand for Mike Sigrist, so the Storm's Wrath is going to wipe this battlefield, barring the token the cat leaves behind.
Yeah, exactly. And the nice thing about the Storm's Wrath here as well, even if that cat, with that cat leaving behind a 1/1 body, Uro is taking 4 damage, and then he is still able to attack with Uro and not, force a trade with this extra 1/1 body being left behind. So you gotta think this one's coming up all Reed Duke.
Yeah, he's certainly turned the corner here. Able to scry his way to something meaningful. Let's see if we can find an expansion explosion. There's another Storm's Wrath. It's going to send us to the back, though. Mike Sigrist is out of gas. Just this lowly little 1/1 to contend with now.
Yeah, and do you notice the QQ
Shark
there
Typhoon.
from
Hey.
Reed Duke? It's like, it's almost habit. Yeah, that's nice. It's almost a habit at this point for any Team or Reclamation player. When you see that trigger for Wilderness Reclamation, you just hit QQ no matter what. Even if you have nothing to do, it is just, it's basically muscle memory at this point.
It is for sure. Negate now finding something to do in Chop Down, countering perhaps this card that is trying to kill all Uro, but Reed is quite happy to let the big old Titan enter the battlefield, or enter the graveyard, I should say, and draws the Shark Typhoon. Now, Corey, do you think we're going to see a hard cost Shark Typhoon? Is Reed the kind of guy to do it?
I don't. But what I really want to... I don't think so, but what I really wanted to see Reed do was put a 25-25 Shark out here. But unfortunately, it's just going to be a measly 16-16. Reed really missing some flavor damage there of being able to make a Merit Liege Shark there. That's too bad.
That is too bad. But, kudos to Reed, just able to keep his cool, dig through his deck, find exactly what he needs when he needs it, and then fire it off at the opportune moment when only one creature would be left on the battlefield. So you got to kind of feel for Mike Sigrist, though, a little bit, contending with a few overzealous fans, it seems.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of struggle. He's got a lot on his plate. I definitely feel for my doppelganger brother here, Mike Sigrist. But hey, game number 3, when he's on the play, I would assume advantage bar would go right back to Mike Sigrist here.
Yeah, so he's going to be looking for a similar start to the first game, where it's just, I'm going to dump all my critters down and try and kill you. But it's not going to be as easy because of those red cards coming in from the sideboards in Storm's Wrath and the Bone Crusher Giant.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, this is the game where Sigrist is just really looking to get one of these Loxodon draws, maybe getting Blackblade down early. These are the kind of key cards that he really wants to see over, a bunch of Raise the Alarm, a bunch of Serpents. Those are the cards he wants to see in his hand, but just not too many of them.
Yeah, for sure. So game number 3, this is the decider between Mike Sigrist and Reed Duke. Mono White aggro versus Team of Reclamation. Let's take a look at the opening hands here. No green in this one for Reeds. This is a little bit of a yikes. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I think this is this is rough because, I mean, it's borderline, I mean, I could see a keep being justifiable. I could see a mulligan being justifiable, but I think it's one of those like keep lose type of hands, unfortunately. If he can get a very good sequence of draws and curve out nicely, this could be a different story, but this is a rough one. Oh, that was a good draw, though.
Yeah, for sure. Being able to take care of that, that little giant killer. It's kind of ironic if the giant kills the giant killer. It's like, haha, take that, you puny immortal.
Stomping a giant does seem like a flavor fail. I have to agree with you there, Alias.
Tide Taker down in the battlefield. That's going to tax whatever Reed wants to do. Finds another land off the top, though, so he is able to get Uro out on turn 3, just to get him ahead here of Mike Sigrist, who's looking to go as quick as he possibly can. Does have the Loxodon in hand, so can buff up his team when he's able to.
Mike Sigrist really having cute. A battle on and off the battlefield right now. Oh, man.
His kids are flexing on him.
This is one thing that you don't get to see. That is one thing you don't get to see in a live broadcast, is actually flexing on your children while you're playing Magic. This is a treat to watch.
Oh, it's so great. Tide Taker goes in for the swing. Bone Crusher Giant took care of the Giant Killer. And now we've got 3 critters down here from Mike Sigrist. And we're about to see an Uro hit the battlefield here for Reed. Or is there anything he's worried about?
So, because that Tide Taker really messes with... Yeah, I think you kind of have to do some ramping here as Reed. It's a lot of things he's worried about, and probably the namesake card being what Sigrist has, and that is a Venerated Loxodon. It's going to be a great Loxodon turn next turn, but Reed really doesn't have a choice right now. His hand is not really set up too well for the early game. It's a lot of stuff that benefits the late game, like Shark Typhoon and Negate. Cards you want, but not really right now.
Yeah, look at this. Finding Seasoned Hallowblade off the top 2. If he felt real greedy and confident that Reed didn't have any sweepers, he would chuck that Giant Killer down 2 and have the entire battlefield pumped up by this Loxodon. But, you know, just holding some stuff back. Don't want to commit too much to the battlefield, knowing that there are sweepers afoot. And this is still looking quite daunting for Reed Duke.
Yeah, and I mean, there is some merit to, even if you don't think there's a sweeper, just leaving that Giant Killer as a chop down, because I mean, with what Mike Sigrist has now, the only kind of way I feel like you lose is like multiple sweepers or getting an Uro down. And if you have that chop down to just do exactly that, chop down one of these Titans of Nature's Wrath, I think this is just looking great for Mike.
Looks like our game just reset slightly there, friends, so we will catch back up to where we were momentarily. As Future Reed is deep in the tank about casting that Stomping Ground. It's like deja vu all over again.
I think maybe the tech side didn't like how we commentated the beginning part of this match, so they're like, let's try that again, and let's do it a little bit more revealing.
You know who it was, Corey.
So now we get to do it again. I'm excited. Yeah.
It was Teferi. It was Teferi.
Oh.
Hashtag blame Teferi.
Of course, we slowed things down. How could I miss that flavor fail? That's a fail on my part, of course.
All right, well, we will just carry on commentating the match as is. If we do jump ahead, forgive us for that, friends. But we're going to see Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, hit the battlefield once again and get this Triumph down on the battlefield. Oh my gosh, he drew a Seasoned Hallowblade.
Would be lucky if he drew a Seasoned Hallowblade right now.
Yeah, imagine how good we would look if we were just like, oh like my goodness me, what is going to happen?
Exactly. I was going to say our commentating is really on point. If we are just able to predict their every move here, we are really, really doing it. All right. Seems to be caught up now.
All right. Expansion Explosion. Expansion Explosion off the top of the library there. So he's able to deploy the second Uro just to ramp up, get a little bit more mana, dig deeper into the library. What would you do here in this situation, Corey?
Yeah, with 2 cards in the graveyard, you don't really have any excellent play here. You're pretty far away from Uro, so I like starting with the Opt to see, you know, what we can do and just, you know, play Uro, try to just continue to make land drops and just hope for the best here and to develop your board.
Yeah, just pad the life total, just try and, you know, keep yourself alive as best you can to find that sweeper and get rid of these weenies, which are getting rather large. All right, friends. So, spoilers, unfortunately, for anyone who would like to see the end of this match. Mike Sigrist wins. So he wasn't able to get ahead where he wanted to be, or Reed, I should say, wasn't able to find that Storm's Wrath. We apologize for that, technical difficulties being across the worlds, you know, all that sort of thing. But yeah, Mike Sigrist winning it there with White Weenie. That is what the deck is built to do, right, Corey? You know, it's built to beat Team Reclamation.
Exactly. And Alias, I knew you were a phenomenal commentator, but the fact that you can actually see the foresight of who wins before, I can just see how, you know, firsthand, how your gift is really channeled into the right avenue here. Really impressive work by you, and really impressive work by Mike Sigrist, taking down one of the best players in the world, and for sure the nicest player in the world, Reed Duke. So congrats to him.
For sure. Friends, when we come back, there is still plenty magic to be had today. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back after these short breaks.
And a punishing one too. Inverter of Truth and 2 copies of Jace as well. This is tough here for Glogowski.
There's a huge crowd next to that. You could see the audible,
Yep. You can hear them just off camera there like that. They're on a slight delay so as not to alert the players as to what's going on. And you could hear that was a big whiff. A big whiff.
We're not out of the woods yet.
Not out of the woods.
Plan Z.
There's a plan. We're all the way down to Plan Z.
Plan Z.
Plan Z. All right. So Thief of Sanity, of course, can still flip something cool off the top of Larsson's library, but he's on a comfortable 27. And Glogowski has kind of moved away from that 1-2 punch territory there without really being able to stitch together his primary game plan. Thought Seize reveals a mystical dispute.
Irrelevant.
That disputation has been put to bed. Did he find Emrakul off the top of Larsson's library?
He doesn't have a graveyard, so he can't really make it cheaper. And Emrakul costs 13.
Yeah, you need 4 more lands.
Yeah.
That's way too much. Yes.
Ambitious.
It's not the promised end of this matchup, at least here. All right. 4 blocks. Will we see the Murderous Rider? Puts the land into play. Another clue token. Not going to miss that.
Before blockers?
Before blocks.
He's lining up 3 mana.
1, 2, 3 mana.
Yeah, 2 of them are black.
Swift End. Here it comes. This is going to win Yoel Larsson the Players Tour Final. Sat Wayfinder, the only blocker available. Crack a clue. Put a counter on the Tireless Tracker. And that is the game. Yoel Larsson has seen it. Everyone has seen it. Glogowski has seen it. And that is that. The champion of Players Tour Europe is the Swedish superstar, Yoel Larsson. What a performance from him. Oh my goodness.
Welcome back to Players Tour Online, friends. I'm Ailey Loney. That's Corey Baumeister. Thank you so much for joining us today. It is round 6 of the Players Tour Finals, and we are going to jump straight into Chris Cavartec versus Bolun Zhang. Team of Reclamation versus 4-color Planeswalkers. Now, I wanted to see this deck in action. We saw it a little bit earlier. It is so cool. Corey, what do you think about this? Basically a home brew here.
Yeah, this deck is really, really awesome. I am very skeptical of how this deck does against Team of Reclamation for game 1, at least, because it is just the type of deck that has to have a good amount of spot removal as well as like a good amount of sweepers to be able to have game against everything. But it's kind of one of these cases like we have Aether Gust against Mono White or Aether Gust against other decks where it's not insanely good, is if you draw too many of these cards you don't want to see in the matchup, it could be really tough. But they also have a lot of tools in the form of Teferi Time Reveler, draws a lot of cards with the Treases, gets to look at their hand a lot. So I think it's going to be an interesting one. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I don't think too many people would have, been prepared for a deck like this. We saw similarly with the Esper mid-range deck that Ken Yukihira is rocking, and this feels kind of similar. It's like, okay, look at all these cards that I can't interact with my main deck Aether Gusts, for example. It's just it's so outside the box from what you'd expect to have to prepare for. Like, I can't wait to see it in action.
Yeah, I am totally with you. And what it reminds me of a little bit, just because it has 4 Narset, 4 Teferi Time Reveler, 4 ECD, it gives me that feel of like Azorius Yorion in a way, but it's a much more proactive deck that can also look at their hand a lot with Thought Erasure, can play a Trees, and then it just has these absolutely over-the-top Planeswalkers like Nico Bolas to just be able to have an I win switch, essentially.
Nicol Bolas can certainly be that. As we get underway here, Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath on the battlefield for Chris Cavartec. The Fairy Time Raveler coming on in, but is going to get noped into oblivion by the Mystical Dispute held up here by Chris. Very heads-up play to do so. Wants to be able to do stuff, you know, on everybody's turn, so goodbye to Fairy.
Yep, exactly. That's one of the most important things to keep off the battlefield from Temur Rec. I mean, it just shuts down the Wilderness Reclamation explosion interaction, which, of course, Christopher Cavartec does not have right now, but you got to preserve that for later. It's just such a tough card to get off the battlefield unless you can, you know, summon a giant Shark Typhoon.
So Atros, Oracle of Half-Truths, revealing 2 lands and an Eliminate. So let's see how Chris decides to order these piles. I always find this a fun game of, can I debate my opponent into picking all lands? It's not what he's going for here, though.
Yeah, honestly, this gives me a flashback to one of my favorite cards of all time, Fact or Fiction. Just the interaction point of, you know, essentially mind games you get to play with your opponent, and the fact that, like, they don't know what you want, you don't know what they want as far as the piles, so it adds just a cool element of replayability in just any kind of Magic when all these kind of new things happen, and I think that's a very important for cool game states in Magic.
For sure. And we saw in the earlier game with Bolin Zhang where he was offered 2 lands revealed or a Narset hidden, and he snap took the 2 lands because he was like, yes, please give me that. And you know, it's a gamble pretty much. It's like, do they want this or do they want that? I'm not entirely sure. But if you can get it right and they really, really want something and they pick something else, it's just like, chef's kiss.
Yeah, you feel real big-brained if you're like, oh, the one card they really need, I put face down, and then they fell for it? Let's go!
So Thought Erasure gonna pick apart Chris's hand here. He's got no way to stop this. He could respond with a explosion to take a look and see what Bolin Zhang's got to work with here. Do you think that's a cheeky thing to do? Would you do that?
Yeah, it is pretty cheeky, that's for sure. So expansion is an option on the Thought Erasure, or you can just explosion the Atrice to draw 2 cards. I think both modes are defensible. If the card, you know, if we had less than 4 mana on the battlefield, I think an expansion to see what Bolin has in his hand makes a lot more sense. But the fact that you get one of the cards, or you get to draw 2 cards and only have 1 card taken away, it seems kind of bad to not go with the natural card advantage here. So I like Chris Cavartec's play. Shocking, because Chris Cavartec plays so well for being such a new player. One of my favorite players by far, by the way. I just love the story. There's nobody that is nicer than him. He's in the reduked category to me, and just, you know, plays such a high level game. Really, really an inspirational guy in my opinion.
Corey, all I'll say is just please don't start ranking them by niceness, okay? We've seen how Magic Twitter has gone crazy the last little while. Let's not do that. But one other thing, though, with the that card, the one that steals things out of your hand, which I've forgotten now because I don't like it at all. But that also put the 6th card in the graveyard for Chris Cavartec to then get Uro out. Yeah. So that's, you know, he was perfectly fine. Just like, yeah, sure, take my stuff. I don't mind. It just gets my Uro out.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, anytime things mildly go wrong for the Temur Reclamation player, like they lose a resource, or, you know, they had to get their Wilderness Reclamation countered, whatever it be, you know, that always is just fueling the fire with Uro. And that's just what makes a dominant deck. When every single resource you have is either fueling to some kind of graveyard synergy, or it is fueling to some very much over-the-top effect, and Temur Reclamation just gets the best of both worlds here.
Yeah. I love that play there from Chris, just ether gusting his second Uro
So
to the bottom
good.
of his library to make sure that he could just get something, you know, into the graveyard for future Uro and not let Elspeth Conquers Death exile anything. That was really, really cool.
Was it to the bottom or the top? I thought he gusted to the top to be able to have access to it, but maybe I missed that.
Yeah, I went to the bottom.
Do you have your voice thing ready? Do you have your voice manipulator ready for this
Oh, it's
Planeswalker we're
Nicol
about to
Bolas.
see by any chance?
I don't know. I don't know if Wizards will let me do it, so I don't want to risk it. But I do a pretty good Nicol Bolas impersonation. But we'll just let Nicol Bolas himself do it as he enters the battlefield in all his might, gains a bunch of life off the interplanar beacons, and is going to start messing with Chris Cavartec's permanence.
Yeah, this is going to be a nice one. Such a powerful Planeswalker. And even if it were to fall this next turn, Elspeth Conquers Death is able to bring it back. So a very dangerous thing. And something we don't see very often is an Elspeth Conquers Death returning a Nicol Bolas for that extra loyalty. Those are just two cards that seem like they can't really be in a deck together because, well, that is blue, black, 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 red, white, white for color symbols. That's just absurd to me.
It is absurd. But what is useful here for Chris Cavartec is he does have the Brazen Borrower, so he can just flash it in if he chooses to, and just swing at Nicol Bolas and kill it. Doesn't look like he's gone for that option, though. He's gone for the Scry instead.
Yeah, I think
Am I
that's a lot
missing
better,
something?
just for the reason that I was saying. Yeah, just because of Elspeth Conquers Death bringing it back, this is not the turn you want to kill it. You unfortunately just have to leave that Nicol Bolas
Yes, true.
on the battlefield for a little bit longer. I don't think another Planeswalker has actually went to the graveyard yet. Maybe I'm missing something and we can't see the graveyard here, but as far as I can see, this Elspeth Conquers Death Chapter 3 is just going to go away. Oh, never mind. There is a Teferi. I forgot about that early on. So regardless, this is
There's a
quite good.
Teferi there. Alright, so forgive me there. I forgot about Elspeth Conquers Death Chapter 3 for a brief second. I was like, Brain, you know about that. Yes, you do. But yeah, I just kind of like, oh, now I'd like to kill that, please. Sends it back to hand there, along with the second copy of Nicol Bolas. Teferi is now back on the battlefield.
Yeah, and shocking. There's always a Teferi Time Reveler in the graveyard whenever there's an Elspeth Conquers Death in play. I think it's just the general cardinal rule that all the Azorius players have. They start with a Teferi in their graveyard just to work so well with these Elspeth Conquers Deaths.
Yep, that's exactly how it works. No shenanigans here. Nope, nope. As we see Zhang tap the mana very carefully to try and get Nicol Bolas back down on the battlefield. So at this point, Corey, does Chris just kind of forget about the Planeswalkers and just start swinging face? Like, is that a reasonable approach, or does he have to get rid of these Planeswalkers first?
You know, I think this is still a get rid of Planeswalkers first, only because of the interstellar beacons. These beacons are just causing such problems right now. Just the fact that every Planeswalker they play, they get to gain 3 lives. And that's just too much, especially with Teferi's only mode to, well, I guess now forget everything I just said. All the creatures are gone anyways.
It doesn't matter. Storm's Wrath, though, can smack a few Planeswalkers around, which is pretty cool. And we do have Blast Zone to pick off a few key...
Yeah, I think
So Uro Titan of
Storm's
Nature's Wrath now back on the battlefield.
Yep, that's going to be nice. I think Storm's Wrath is exactly what the use that Cavartec thought he would get from Storm's Wrath was exactly this, just putting Nicol Bolas down to from 5 to 4. This is exactly what he expected for Storm's Wrath to be doing in his Game 1 configuration.
Schemes are never ending.
But just look at the
Alright, maybe
disparity of this board right now. It's like, yes, we have an Uro Titan of Nature's Wrath, but we've got another Nicol Bolas. We've got an Elspeth Conquers Death. We've got a Ritual of Soot that hits Uro. We've got an Extinction Event that hits Uro. And the only dead card in hand is a Duress, simply because Chris Cavartec has no hand. So, I mean, This kind of looks like Bolan Zhang's game here. At what point does Chris
this
say,
one kinda
okay,
seems
next?
to be over with. And Bolan Zhang's deck is really, really snowbally. It's essentially, you can view it as a tap-out Planeswalker deck, and you just know what happens when a Planeswalker sits on the battlefield for a couple of turns. That incremental value that is gained, you know, slowly but surely, eventually will just absolutely overrun an opponent. And when you're playing all these kinds of Planeswalkers, where if you get 1 or 2 turns where you can't answer a Planeswalker the turn it comes into play, it really gets out of hand extremely fast.
It does it. That Extinction event takes care of Uro, so we won't see that anymore. No hand, no graveyard, not all that going for Chris Cavartec here as he draws an expansion explosion. That can take care of Nicol Bolas, I think. But still, there's another one in hand just waiting to come down.
That had to be the best possible. That was definitely best possible. I mean, 5 cards now. That made this a game. Oh, that was pretty bad.
It's a lot of land. It's like, yeah, sure, it's all well and good, except you drew 3 lands.
Yep.
Oh, look, Duress isn't dead anymore. Let's take a look and see what you drew there. Goodbye, Wilderness Reclamation number 1.
Exactly, and I mean, that is the nice thing about Duress in these matchups is the Temur Reclamation deck, Chris Cavartec, just draws so many cards that eventually we're going to be able to take a peek at the hand again, and, you know, this still was a nice hit at just clearing out both of these Reclamations.
Yeah, it's so brutal. I mean, Chris top deck the best card he could have found, killed a Planeswalker, and now he's just kind of back to square one. You know, it's like, oh, cool, I have a growth spiral. Oh, cool, I can play an extra land.
Yep.
But I really don't want to be drawing lands right now, please, library. I bet he's thinking to himself.
Yeah, he's probably saying that out loud to himself since he is playing from home. But I mean, that just shows what happens when a player is that far ahead, that even if you draw something nice like that, all you're doing is maybe getting to parity or even a little behind. So I mean, this game is kind of all over, but the crying for now. But we're gonna go through the motions, and this Planeswalker deck doesn't exactly kill quickly. So it feels pretty nice when you're on the Planeswalker side, because you just get to play games when you're outrageously ahead for quite a while, which is, I don't know, I thoroughly enjoy doing that. I just get to enjoy just absolutely dunking on my opponent for a little bit until, you know, it's completely done.
Oh, goodness. That's filthy. But I do think we're going to see a good game here. Once the Elder Spell takes care of the 3-mana Planeswalkers, we're going to see Nicol Bolas ultimating. You haven't seen that in forever, have we? You just concede. Get out of there, Chris. Save yourself.
I don't know if I have ever seen that. Run!
Oh, goodness me. Yeah, run away. You know, it's kind of funny because a lot of the decks for this tournament, none of them are really expecting many Planeswalkers outside of the, you know, the stock ones, if we can call them that, in the Teferis and the Nisses. You know, no one's prepared for these other Planeswalkers that much.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty tricky ones to deal with. Unfortunately for Bolan Zhang is the fact that Nicol Bolas and Narset, maybe the ones that we're not as prepared for, they do still fall into the same traps that we already have answers for Teferi, and that's a bunch of mystical disputes. You know, disputing a Nicol Bolas feels even worse than disputing a Teferi Time Reveler. You know, trading up for a 1-mana spell all the way up to a 5-mana spell is still a problem. So we're still going to run into the same problems that Teferi runs into as far as hate cards. But yeah, people are not expected to play against Nicol Bolas, that's for sure.
Oh, well, look, another 6-land keep. Chris Cavartec is taking after Seth Manfield, it seems. But if you got Growth Spiral, you've got the world in your hands. It's totally fine, but no, we no longer have Growth Spiral. Duress taking it away. Come on.
Oh, God.
Oh, man, that feels bad.
That feels bad to just have to reveal that hand. Just having to reveal that hand feels really, really rough.
Has Agonizing Remorse on the stack now. Shark Typhoon in response. Let's at least get a creature. The other Shark Typhoon is gonna get got though. Now, Chris is left with absolutely nothing. Draws into more gas, though, in a Brazen Borrower, but woof, Bolin Zhang is off to a blistering start.
Yeah, if there was ever a time when you wanted to draw your 7th land, it was right after that Shark Typhoon cycle, because anything you draw is getting exiled. That is the one time where you just want to draw a Triome and just be like, thank you, I will cycle that later for a card that's not going to get Agonizing Remorse.
So it's a fairy now on the battlefield. We've got a Brazen Borrower in the air here for Chris Cavartec. Body Rager and Liliana in the hand here for Bolin Zhang. He did have quite a few lands there, but has found some extra action in the Thought Erasure, which might take a peek at the hand here. It will find another Shark Typhoon, so this is just hunting season now for Bolin Zhang. He's getting rid of all these sharks.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. Definitely a shark hunter here. And one thing I want to point out right now is Bolin Zhang just drew Liliana right now. I think there has to be some kind of flavor fail to have Liliana and Nicol Bolas in the same deck together after their War of the Spark battle. But, you know, I guess I'm not in charge of these flavor fails, so...
You know, it would be great if both Planeswalkers hit the battlefield and they just had, like, snarky comments for each other. I would love that. Or they just start punching each other even. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, instead of the normal animation
right,
talk
well.
where Nicol Bolas is like, "Brrr," it's just, oh,
Yeah.
you again.
Yeah. I defeated you eons ago, he'd say in his gruff voice. So Liliana was countered, but there is an Elspeth Conquers Death on the battlefield, so that'll be able to bring that Planeswalker back as this little shark tries to do what little sharks can only do, and that is chip away at the life total here of Bolin Zhang. There is an Eliminate in hand, so he can take care of that. Expansion Explosion in hand here for Chris Cavartec.
Yeah, and here's the problem with all these giant planeswalkers being answered by counterspells. Eventually, they're not really safe from coming back when they're in the graveyard. Elspeth Conquers Death has that option to bring them back at any point, and then you're just getting a free giant planeswalker. Liliana and Nicol Bolas in particular, these really high mana intensive planeswalkers that have some devastating effects. You just get them back for free, and that's something that decks just can't do in standard right now outside of this awesome 4-color planeswalker deck.
Ooh, that is a very nice scry to the top there for Chris Cavartec. Finding the Reclamation, able to get that down. And can we get the big ol' kaboom boom here?
I can't see exactly what Liliana is, but we got an explosion for 6 here. If that Liliana's at 6, this is looking great. Okay, we are 1 short from lethal here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I guess
The
the
shark
Eliminate
does get
take
answered
care
by
of that, but
Eliminate,
we have
though.
an explosion for 6. Yeah.
And so just tapping carefully, let's get this Wilderness Reclamation down. An answer for it in hand for Bolin Zhang and Elspeth Conquers Death. But we should be able to take care of Liliana here at the very least for Chris Cavartec and just refill this hand.
Yeah, I'm...
Go on, do it. You know you wanna.
We got this for... we got this for 6 here. I'm thinking with the Elspeth Conquers Death Plus that Liliana might be at 7. I can't see exactly there, but we're going to find out shortly. Oh, faces the place.
I think they're on.
I love it.
I think Liliana's on 8, so just going face. Smack down to 3. That is so much land in hand. Come on, library. Yeah, gross.
You know what's really disheartening?
This library is not behaving.
Really disheartening, Alias? Whenever after you draw and you play this giant explosion, you set that upkeep stop, you know things went wrong if you have to do that after you just drew 6 cards. That's one of the most frustrating things ever.
It is for sure. And now no Wilderness Reclamation either after the Elspeth Conquers Death has taken care of it. We do have the Brazen Borrower, so we can stop Liliana from ultimating, which would be backbreaking here for Chris. If he wants to stay in this, he's got to deal with Liliana. Finds another land. Come on. What is up with these lands? He's got to have a talk with his deck after this match.
No kidding, no kidding. Well, at least if Magic doesn't work out for Chris Cavartec, he has a high future in being a landlord after this.
Okay, so problem number 1 dealt with temporarily. Liliana back in hand and out of ultimate reach.
Oh, no way. I see a disaster scenario. I guess he knows about the Brazen Bar. I was going to say, if Bolin Zhang just jams this Liliana, that Brazen Bar can just come down and fly over for the win. But I suppose that will not be played since that Brazen Bar is on an adventure, so it is face-up information.
Yep. And we'll be able to take care of it with
Ooh, I guess
the
you can...
removal spell that he's holding in hand there. Heartless Act.
I guess you can gain a life up the Interstellar Beacon, though, so excuse me on that. It is actually a play that is reasonable now, because you would just go to 1, essentially, with gaining 1 life up to 4.
Yeah. So Interplanar Beacon did a really, really good job in the first match. Just every single time he was casting a Planeswalker, he was gaining 3 life. So it's like, oh, look, I have my own Uro. They're just incredibly powerful Planeswalkers that do a bunch of ridiculous things.
Yeah, exactly. And decides to not play it, which is pretty interesting, just valuing the life total a little bit more. Take out Brazen Bar when you can, but now you actually gotta kind of like Cavartec's place, because he does have the access to Scry, and he has the Triome to be able to draw a card. So, and basically he doesn't have a single land left in his deck with how many he's drawn so far. So you can't think that it's going terrible.
Well, you'd think that. You'd think that, but he just drew another one. So,
wow.
Commentator's curse. We apologize to Chris Cavartec and all of his fans. Corey Baumeister, you are to blame for that one.
Okay,
oh, my
I'll take
goodness
it.
me.
I will take it. Chris, I apologize to you directly. My bad, buddy.
All right, so we do have the Triome. We can cycle. We can also scry to try and make sure that we find something. He is still at 14, so not at death's door just yet. So likely we're going to see a scry on the end step, I'm guessing, and then cycle to try and find something useful as Teferi comes back onto the battlefield to make more misery for Chris Cavartec.
Exactly, and I mean, we're seeing the ability to actually go double scry here, which is probably what we're going to see. All we need to find is an expansion explosion, and there's Chris giving a look, just like, okay, how many do I have left in my deck? Because explosion is going to be for 7. You know, all we have to do is find that. So I would think Christopher would ignore the Triome here and just scry 4 and use the Triome next turn if he doesn't find one of those absolutely game-ending spells. Ooh, that's an interesting
Exactly
mode.
right. So Liliana just killing her own creatures to draw some extra cards here. Also finding lands. So, all right, Bolin Zhang is also being infected by this land nonsense, which Chris is afflicted by. So it's Battle of the Lands here. Who's got better lands?
Yeah, you gotta love Magic sometimes, especially being in one of these high-stakes feature matches, and you just have these situations that happens for all of us, where you just flood, and the game is not that interesting, and then you have the other side, which is also flooding, and it's just, those games are absolutely hilarious to me. It's just like, what can you expect to do when you flood out this badly?
That was a really, really good pickup there for Bolin Zhang off of Teferi and the Ether Gust in case of an expansion explosion, but Chris has found Commence the Endgame, which might be pretty darn good for him indeed here.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Can't play it at instant speed because of Teferi.
It is a 6-mana divination. Yeah, yep, exactly. So most of the time it's just a 6-mana divination here, where Liliana is going to clean it up or Teferi is going to clean it up, but still, of course, better than just naturally drawing 1 card. So Christopher naturally is going to be pretty happy to take it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, just being able to find a few extra cards, dig a little deeper, and have a creature on the battlefield, albeit briefly if those Planeswalkers have anything to say about it. But both of them are at 2 loyalty, so they won't be able to get that creature off the battlefield just yet. So that could be a window there for Chris to get back in this.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's huge. That's absolutely huge right now. I mean, you got a chump blocker with Liliana's zombies, but, you know, I mean, that is only a band-aid to a problem here. This Commence the Endgame creature can either be a 6/6 or a 5/5, pretty large.
So Chris just thinking what lands he wants to tap, what is he hoping to yoink off the top here. There's a negate, which does nothing with Teferi down on the battlefield, and a Castle Vantress. So more land for Chris Cavartec.
Yep, I think that's a very smart thing to look at here. Like Christopher, it may have looked weird why he even paused there. He's like, well, you don't have any other thing to do. You want to play that before you play a land to make it bigger. But what Chris is doing, he's mapping out to make sure that not only can he cast every single spell that he could draw off the top, but also has the utility of all of his lands, aka Blastode and Castle Vantress, at any point. So just basically mapping it out so you don't draw a card and be like, oh, aha, why didn't I think of that? You know, Christopher has thought of that, and he, joins the ranks of one of the great players that's trying to, add any percentage point to his win here.
Yeah, I think Chris Cavartec certainly impressed so many of us last year, qualifying for both the Mythic Championships that he played in through the Arena, the Mythic Championship qualifier weekends. And, you know, he's just taking every single opportunity that he can to become a better and better player and, you know, really make a name for himself as one of Magic's greatest. So, you know, I'm keen to see where he goes from here, but for now he has to try and figure out a way through this Planeswalker deck here, piloted by Bolin Zhang, and he's having a really, really difficult time with that.
Yeah, 100%.
He's able to take care of Teferi, and he's going to be able to negate
his results
this.
are speaking for himself. Yep. Yeah, that's huge. And, you know, his results speak for himself. But one thing that I just don't know about Christopher Cavartec, he doesn't like fries. He doesn't like French fries. He is a dietitian. But I don't know if I could give up fries forever. Come on. Killing me here, Chris.
Or trying to save you, you know, from the oily goodness that French fries are. Ether Gust here on Wilderness Reclamation. It's going to send it to the bottom. And, jeez. I think he actually put an extra land in his list, if I'm not mistaken. Someone commented, I think it was Emma Handy, commented on his list submission and being like, I don't know what I like more, the fact that you're playing an extra, or you're playing 29 lands, or you've got the 2 Storm's Wrath main deck.
Yeah, 27, 20, 20.
This game is funny
lands,
sometimes.
I suppose that's about average. 28, 29 is definitely the range that people in. But after this game, I feel like Chris wants to go down to like 20 lands with how many he's drawing. This is absurd.
Just kick them all out. So finds 2 counter spells off the top of the library. He's probably going to send back the Mystical Dispute because those get worse and worse as the game goes on. Negate, possibly want to keep up in case of Teferi or Elspeth Conquers Death or something along those lines. But, you know, ideally would like to keep digging to find something to finish this game out so within reach. And Liliana's going to start messing with him very shortly, as she's on 4 now, I believe.
Yeah, I love that keep of negate, because what Chris is doing is like, eventually I'm going to find an expansion explosion. But what I want to do is stop my opponent from having negate or from having Aether Gust to answer it back when I finally do find it. So heads up play there from Chris, and is going to get rewarded by countering this Nicol Bolas. I'd like to see him stop there.
Yeah,
yep,
that is exactly something that he was worried about. So rewarded there for keeping that counter spell on top there. Bolin Zhang in top deck mode does have Liliana continually generating creatures, able to get in the way of the 6/6, or, you know, just force a sacrifice. And then Chris is back to square one again. What do you think is going to be the play here for Bolin Zhang?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just got to keep, you know, making these zombies and just hoping that's enough. But if you're Bolin Zhang, you cannot feel good right now about the way this game is going along. You're just outmannered. Eventually, Christopher is going to find a card that matters. So I like Chris just taking the damage here, not letting Zhang just draw a negate or something that could really step in front of his path to victory here. Scry and eventually find an Uro, find something good, but wow. Just 2 more passages.
How? Are we going to see like a world record here or something for the amount of lands on a battlefield? Because what the heck?
This is unreal.
It's ridiculous. Oh my goodness. He did find a negate though, so if there is another Teferi or a Bolas or something along those lines.
Yeah, exactly. And at this point, Chris is in a bit of an awkward situation. He decided to not take the 2 damage, or he decided to not block last turn to just make sure that he didn't draw another meaningful spell, like, well, another Nicol Bolas. But this turn does not have that luxury anymore. He is at 6 life, so Chris has to block right now, which will yield Zhang another magic card, and that's a situation you just don't want to be in, and it's just going to come to a top deck mode now. I think this is the turn. It just has to be there if you're a Chris Cavartec fan.
Well, yeah, I mean, if he doesn't find something to close this game out, he's dead next turn just to creatures, swinging in. Liliana can make another creature. We got another Atris. We got Atris now that's going to be added to the battlefield. So this looks like Zhang is going to pick up this victory here in a 2-0 against a hard-fought match with Chris Cavartec. Just digging, but his library just not giving him any inch. Too many lands.
Yep. And I wouldn't count him out quite yet because the expansion explosion is for 10 if it comes off the top. So, I mean, it is definitely just 1 draw step away. But Christopher does not have the luxury of scrying in his upkeep if I were him, because I think you just have to min-max your chances to win. And I think that is by just hoping to draw exactly expansion explosion. And
so YOLO pretty much is what we're hoping for here.
YOLO!
So Atris revealing eliminates another copy of Atris and a Godless Shrine. Neither of these, or none of these cards, is going to stop an expansion explosion, which Chris is holding out for here. He's holding out for a hero. Will he find it? Let's see if the top deck is kind. I'm nervous. I'm like on the edge of my seat.
I love this mind game that Chris is playing. Yeah, me too. I love the mind game that Christopher's playing right here. He's putting the 2 spells face up that don't necessarily do anything great, just to say, hey, you're going to pick that 1 card, and you're probably not going to be happy with it. Ooh, did pick the 2.
Well, went for the Atris in the land there, and we'll be able to put another creature down. Lost Zone can take care of Liliana. What do we draw? Eek! Fingers crossed. Oh, we're going for the scry?
Oh no, if it's on top. Oh no, Chris.
But that's okay, because there's only 1 creature on the battlefield now, so we can kill that creature, right?
I suppose. Well, good call,
How?
Christopher.
How?
That's why Chris is down there. Yeah. Oh my God. This is unreal.
All right. I can't believe that he drew that many lands. You know what? If I was him, I would have committed honorable Sudoku and just shocked myself to death. But you know what? Congratulations, Zhang. Your deck is insanely cool. And that was just an unbelievable match of Magic. I don't think I've ever experienced that before in my life. Corey, final thoughts on that game, my friend?
I mean, Magic is a game of variance where we do draw off of the top of the deck, but come on, that is just such bad luck. I would like to know the percentages of drawing that many lands in a row, or how many he actually had left in his deck, because he scried so many to the bottom that I would imagine the rest of his lands were just exactly at the bottom of the library that he scried to the bottom. That was unreal bad luck for Christopher Cavartec.
Yeah, they must have been.
A brutal beat there for sure, Alias.
Yeah. Bad beats. I mean, never mind the fact that he's playing against an awesome opponent with a really cool deck. Your own library is working against you. I guess it didn't get the memo that, it's the Players' Tours Finals. We'd like to have some good Magic, please. Anyway, my friends, that is going to do it from myself and Corey in the booth for today. We'll be back tomorrow, but there is still one more round of Magic to come, so do not go anywhere because we will be right back after this short break. Castle Vantress Scry, one top, one bottom.
In theory, the wolf can block the Nightpack Ambusher, but I don't know what he can draw now. Let's see, 6, 18 mana, not enough to even just YOLO Explosion for lethal. He's going to be up against 4 creatures at 1 life. Maybe if he had Storm's Wrath.
He finds an Expansion Explosion. I don't think that's going to get the job done here, not with so few lands in play.
Well,
Can
it has
kill
to
something.
involve, like, let's suppose he cast it for 5 and then drew 3 Aether Gusts or something. Like, that's kind of...
That's his only out here.
Yeah, something of that nature. Maybe I'll cast it for 4 and try to draw 3 Aether Gusts. But he has to still draw 3 answers to all this stuff.
Yeah. But here we go. Explosion on the stack. Trying to get rid of the Nightpack Ambusher. Mystical Dispute. Negate that.
Save a mana, but I don't know. I don't think he can even. I think 5 mana is not enough, even if, even with perfect draws. I think you need 6. I think it's 2 per wolf in the best case.
And such a tough position here for Dominic, not finding anything proactive, just a handful of nopes, and Elias took full advantage of that. Here's another negate. A second negate to negate the negate. Nopes upon nopes on the stack right now. And finally, Explosion resolves. Doesn't find anything useful. Blast Zone, gonna blow up some stuff. There goes Dominic. So congratulations to Elias Watsfeld, our winner here of Players Tour Online #1.
Hey everybody, welcome back to coverage of the Players Tour Finals. I'm Ray Bartholdi. I've got Cedric Phillips and Riley Knight hanging out with me here at our virtual news desk. And Cedric, how about it? Did you ever think you'd see Bolas take down a win here in this Players Tour Final?
It warms my heart, probably warms Bolas's cold heart to see that Planeswalker. When it was first printed, it was just kind of like, all right, this card's really cool. I hope it sees a lot of play. It hasn't yet, but you know what? It hasn't rotated yet either. So maybe now, better late than never, kind of doing its thing right now in this tournament. It was awesome to watch.
Yeah, that was some really cool stuff. Congrats to Bull and Zhang on that and for bringing such an awesome deck for us all to watch. Riley, you've been doing the work behind the scenes on the floor, as it were. I'll put that in air quotes. What are you learning?
Yes, indeed. Been around the traps, and I caught up with a fair few players who have made day 2, of course, by locking up their 4th win in the last round. So I want to chat to you about some of the stories that I picked up there. Firstly, American Andrew Cuneo is on mono green aggro, a far cry from his normal gainsay type decks. But he improves to 4-2 after a win against Mythic champion Eli Loveman. Another American, Mark Jacobson, playing mono white. He triumphed Shinsuke Hayashi's banned ramp, so he's locked up a day 2 appearance as well. And he's doing pretty well considering that last night, right, Mark drove to the Santa Cruz Mountains to try to spot the comet Neowise. You may have heard of this. It's a comet that's currently visible from the naked eye. Didn't take along the binoculars, did Mark? So had a little bit of trouble spotting it, but he did hear a bullfrog and did see a great horned owl. So quite an adventure for Mark, who is now coming back and getting it done in day 2 with the day 2 appearance here at the Players Tour Finals. Caught up with Pascal Vieira as well, famed Belgian player. He'll also be playing in day 2 with the deck the weekend, Team of Reclamation, after beating Kevin Perez with Sultai Ramp. I spoke to Pascal about his deck choice and his card choice. He doesn't like the fact that he's played 2 copies of Storm's Wrath, and with a lot of wreck the top end of town, it may come back to bite him on the bum tomorrow as we head into day number 2, of course. Argentinian Sebastian Pozzo has bounced back from 0-2, right? He's come all the way back to 4-2 to make day 2 with Bant Ramp, defeating Matthew Carlson and Team Rec. And I was going to, normally I try to paraphrase what the players tell me, and sort of put in more interesting terms, but I'm not actually going to be able to beat the way that Pozzo put this himself. And here's what he said verbatim. I do this type of comeback a lot. Usually because I'm worse at draft and draft goes first, but this time I respected tradition and still lost the first rounds, even if it's all standard. So it's good to see Sebastian Pozzo with a healthy respect for time-honored tradition there. Finally, French Hall of Famer Raphael Levy. People will be very pleased to hear that he is in day 2 after a win against Australian Kyle Gibson. The French Hall of Famer through to day number 2, finding answers to Kyle's Joel reels in both games and able to weather the storm to knock the Aussie to 3-3. So one more chance for Kyle to make it to day 2, while Raf cruises into a day 2 finish with 4-2 at the moment. So those are the people I caught up with, and I'm sure fans of the people I've just chatted about will be very pleased to hear, Maria, that they've made it through to the second day.
Thank you so much, Riley and Sebastian Pazzo. Hey, if anything else, you are consistent. And you know what? That matters. That matters in Magic. A couple quick updates for you. We have 2 undefeated players left in the tournament at this point. Alan Wu is currently 6-0, defeated Akira Asahara last round, who falls to 5-1. And Christoph Prinz is at 6-0, undefeated, taking out Seth Manfield last round. Seth Manfield also dropping to 5-1. We'll take a look at our standings in just a little bit. But first, we've got some fun stuff for you here. We all know Brad and BBD, they live together, they like to have a great time, and they actually documented their journey to this tournament. So let's take a look at how it went.
What are you doing?
Getting ready for our first tournament vlog.
Oh, I didn't know we were doing those again.
Yeah, it's not every day we get to go to a Magic tournament.
I wouldn't really say we're going to a tournament, we're just walking upstairs like...
Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Brad. I'm here with Brian Brown Dew, and we're getting ready for Players Tour Final. This is our first vlog for the tournament. Now, I still have to book our hotel, but I did get my deck ready for it.
Why are you booking a hotel?
Well, I want a roof over my head, silly. But yeah, I still need a few cards, so do you have any of these that I could borrow?
No, I mean... Yeah, we both have full stocked accounts.
Wow, humble brag. Brian Brown Doin's got fully stocked accounts. Now, we'll be bringing you all the action all weekend long, so stay tuned, follow, click, like, subscribe. What up? See you later!
What the hell is that?
Oh, I gotta check in. I gotta go.
What are you checking into? Dude, what are you checking into?
I love these guys so much, and I really love those cat paintings, like Renaissance cats in the background of them too. I hope you all notice that at home. Yeah, really into that. You guys got to tell me where you got those. Those are great. So we've got 1 round left here on day number 1. So that means let's find out what our feature match is here for round number 7. Playing 7 rounds today, 7 rounds again tomorrow. Remember, of course, your record carries over into day 2. Who will we be watching today? It is Christopher Larson on Jund Sacrifice versus Akira Asahara, who just took his first loss of the tournament playing Teamer Reclamation. Let's take a look at Christopher Larson's deck. Jund Sacrifice, it's been a huge deck for I don't know, a really long time now in Magic, through several courses of Standard, Cedric. For this tournament, can you talk about the choice to bring Jund Sacrifice specifically this weekend?
Well, I do think it is a little bit of a risky choice, but clearly it's working out for the Big Dane because he is checking in at 5-1 right now. And you see the build of the deck, it is very much focused on, I would say, ramping into Bolas' Citadel, but there are only 2 copies of Bolas' Citadel here alongside those 3 copies of Solemn Simulacrum. So, you know, what this deck does and what it's always done has been kind of a value, kind of grindy strategy with Trail of Crumbs, which there are 4 copies of. Corvold, Fake Curse King as well, able to build up to some extremely explosive turns. And Priest of Forgotten Gods, a fantastic card at kind of managing the battlefield against these monocolored aggressive decks. So you mentioned, Maria, that this deck has been around for a long time. It absolutely has been, and I normally think of Canister, Peter Gogolowski, when we see this deck, but starting to really think even more about Christopher Larson when we see Jund Sacrifice start to show up places.
All right, let's see Akira Asahara's deck. Of course, bringing the deck of the tournament, but will it be the one that takes the whole thing down, playing Teamer Reclamation this weekend? Cedric, is there anything here you want to call out as unique to Akira's build?
Well, unique to Akira's build are those 2 main deck copies of Spectral Sailor, which is a nod to the mirror match. It is especially bad here. A 1/1 flyer that could get tinged by Mayhem Devil. That's not what this matchup is about at all. It's a great card in mirror, as I mentioned, but not great against these sacrifice strategies. It'll be one of the first cards that Asahara does sideboard out, but not surprising to see such a great player and legend of the game at a 5-1 record. Did win a Players Tour Online event with Team of Reclamation, someone who all the other Japanese players look up to in deck building, and is off to another great start here. We're not sure exactly how this matchup's going to shake out for Asahara because of the main deck build, but that's why you give you best of 3, not best of 1.
That's right, and this is the final round of today, so you're not going to want to go anywhere. Let's peek at our standings here, heading into round 7 here in the Players Tour Final. Find out which players are currently left undefeated and which ones are battling for good records heading into day 2, because of course your record does carry over when you come back and play tomorrow. Only 2 players who are undefeated left, Alan Wu and Christoph Prinz, and yes, they are playing each other. So by the end of this round and heading into tomorrow, we will only have 1 undefeated player in the field. And that, while awesome, of course, for that player, is a huge weight on their shoulders as well, going undefeated into day 2 in a big tournament like this. And of course, we've got lots of great names here. Christopher Larson, like we just mentioned here, sitting at 5-1. Andrew Beckstrom, congratulations, at 5-1. Abe Corrigan at 5-1. He locked up that record after defeating Ali Warfield last round. She falls to 4-2, but we'll be back to battle tomorrow. Remember, 4 wins is the magic number. Here are results 9 through 16. Elias Clocker at 5-1. Seth Manfield here at 5-1, the Hall of Famer. Piotr Glogowski, we mentioned his name when we talk about sacrifice decks. He's at 5-1 here, as well as Michael Jacob, who's playing that weird Mardu Winota build. Dominic Gertzen here in 16th, also at 5-1 as well. So those are the standings heading into the last round of play today. We're going to see that match coming up in just a couple of minutes, so don't move anywhere.
Breeding Pool, that kind of develops your mana.
Ooh.
There's an Uro that will also do similar. Oh, but there's another shark now as well. This board state's getting out of hand pretty quickly.
Yeah, this was the big question for me is Ryuji going to send the Nightpack Ambusher? But he does not. He is not falling for that one.
And this one has really started to fall apart for Jean Emmanuel. What does a comeback look like here?
Well, we're going to see a big turn for him, too, because he has that same combination of Wilderness Reclamation and Expansion. Now, how the players each choose to utilize their mana is not obvious to me.
Oh,
but
I see.
Depra will certainly play Wilderness Reclamation here and will certainly have access to at least 9 mana on his end step.
John Emmanuel's going to kick it off with a Growth Spiral. Must find a way to interact with this spell on the stack or it's over. There it is, Growth Spiral. He finds a mountain.
Play a land and cycle the Shark Typhoon for 1 more shot at Negate or Ether Gust.
That's it. That's exactly where we're at. Here we go. Shark Typhoon cycle. Try to hit something. X equals 0. It's Mystical Dispute. Oh, not the one that Jean Emmanuel needed. All Murray has to do is pay for it, and he will be your champion. There it goes. Players Tour Online goes to Ryuji Murray.